What's up guys, Readiness Rations here with you again, and I'm back with another international 24-hour military ration taste test. This is a monstrous MRE from Poland, coming in just shy of 2 kilos, and has to be one of the largest filled rations I've ever had the opportunity to review. These are supposed to contain world-class military food, and I can't wait to dig in. Before we do though, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you like seeing these military ration reviews here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future content, and let me know down in the comments what international ration you would like to see next. This is truly a gigantic meal kit. Of course it is Poland's individual food ration, SRG Menu 5. This is a heavy meal plastic bag, very similar to a US meal ready to eat. The label here lists the internal contents in 3 languages, Polish, English, and French. This ration was packed by Pol. That company produces rations for the Polish military, along with police and even civilian MREs. This kit was packed all the way back in 2018, and our best buy date was December 15th, 2020. So we're closing in on being out of date by almost 5 years. I sure hope most of the food is still edible. Let's get into it here. Our very first item is a package of light rye crisp breads. These weigh almost nothing. A huge full-size 100-gram dark chocolate bar. Now that's different. Looks like they include 4 paper cups, and it looks like there's even more goodies inside of that. 3 packs of plastic flatware. Each of these contain a knife, 2 spoons, a fork, and a napkin. 4 green tea fruit beverage mixes. They do include a little information page here. It looks like we have 3 individual meals, A, B, and C, which I believe correspond to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it also lists the accessories. The reverse of that is preparation instructions. This can is translating to pork shin or pork knuckle. I'm assuming this is some sort of can of sausage. Another 100-gram tin of meat product. This one appears to be a mix of pork and beef. A second package of rye crisp breads. A 5th fruit green tea mix, a 35-gram fruit and cereal bar. This is a pretty light 15-gram pack of dried fruits. A couple sweet spreads here, individually packed so they don't make a mess. Honey, and what I believe is cherry jam. 2 45-gram packages of the SU1 special biscuits. These things are ridiculously thick and hard, but I've always loved them. Finally getting into our entrees here. This can's a bit dented, but seems okay. This first one is a massive 300 grams of sausage and vegetables in a tomato sauce. And this other can has seen some damage as well, but no leaks as far as I can see. Another 300 grams, and this one is chicken fillets in cheese sauce. That sounds both interesting and possibly delicious. It looks like we do get a full heating kit to heat up meals. This is made by the Esbit company. That includes ample regular matches, 3 windproof waterproof matches, what appears to be sort of a trash bag or a rubbish bag, the foldable stove itself with a very handy handle to pick the cans up with, and they include an ample 9 Esbit style hexamine fuel tabs. That was everything in the bag. Let's see what was in these cups. I can tell right away there's a little bit of leakage going on from something. Luckily they had it in its own enclosed bag, so whatever is leaking out is sort of localized. I think these are our culprits. They were once hard candies, but now they are a soft, sticky mess. We have 3 of those, and judging by the medley of colors in this cup, I'm going to say all 3 are probably not in the best shape. That also had 3 coffee candies, 3 packages of xylitol chewing gum, 2 packs of black pepper, one of which is very sticky, 2 little sachets of salt, 10 grams of white sugar, 2 packages of instant coffee, some assorted Ziploc baggies, these are endlessly useful, 3 moist towelettes, and a very sticky Ziploc containing what looks to be toilet paper. That is a ton of food, and I'm really impressed with how many extras are in this ration. Since this meal kit is meant to feed a soldier for a full 24-hour period, it will be all the food I eat for the next 24 hours. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So now it's time to get everything broken down into individual meals and dig into breakfast. So luckily they provided us with these instructions that have breakdowns of what should be consumed with each meal, A, B, and C. For breakfast here though, I am going off script. They suggest meal C as the smallest meal of the day, and I think that would typically be your dinner, the last meal of the day, and they suggest a far larger meal for meal A, which I'm assuming is breakfast. Hopefully you guys don't hate me for it, but I'll actually be switching meal C for meal A because I typically like to start my day with a smaller meal and finish it with a larger meal. Since this is breakfast, we will get into our coffee right away. I'm going to use one of the included cups here. This sachet of instant coffee is very sticky. Now that looks like a very fine, almost spray dry like powder. I'm going to eyeball what looks like a reasonable amount of water for that amount of coffee powder. Open up our cutlery here. That included napkin is very large, but also pretty thin. This is a super thin, clear plastic. We do get a large spoon, a small spoon, a really weird fork, and this one appears to be partially broken, and a knife. Give our coffee a quick stir. This actually smells pretty decent. Pretty standard instant coffee aroma, but seems a little more roasted than your average fare. Looks pretty good. Let's give it a taste here. That is pretty darn bland. This coffee tastes like almost nothing. It's just burnt bean juice. Almost no real coffee flavor at all. It definitely has some bitterness and a super dark, almost burnt flavor, but not good. Maybe sugar will liven it up a little bit. We'll revisit that sweetened in just a moment. The suggested drink for our meal was our green tea forest fruit flavor. This is full of fish food-like pellets, sort of a berry type color. Let's try a couple of those dry. Sweet and tart. In dry form, very candy-like and actually pretty darn tasty. Let's get that into a glass here. And these packs call for 250 mils of water. Those pellet-like chunks are very persistent, so this is taking a lot of stirring. I think I'll let that sit for a moment as well. And let's open up our rye crisp breads. They are light as a feather, a very generous 10 in total per pack. They're ridiculously airy and very much like styrofoam. Super snappy, and we can see the little bitty flakes of rye flour in the cross section there. They don't smell like much. Let's give it a taste here. Snappy, but as soon as it hits the moisture of your mouth, it gets a little bit gummy. Very plain grain flavor. I don't detect any saltiness or sweetness. These are a blank slate for spreads, which is not a bad thing, and I will say, surprisingly, this doesn't dry the mouth out too bad, and is not really thirst-provoking. Speaking of spreads, let's get into our jam here. This one was our cherry jam. That looks very liquidy on top. Get in there with our little spoon. Oh yeah, it is swimming in jam juice. There's the very gelatinized cherry jam itself. Really dark. Try that out. Really sugary sweet. Very light tartness. It has a subtle but nice cherry flavor. Let's get another one of our crisp breads here and distribute some of our jam directly on top. I've used up almost half the jam here with only one crisp bread. Guess we'll switch out to our knife. Give this a good mashing and spreading. Now that looks pretty decent. Let's try that jam and bread combo. The sweet fruitiness of the jam really shines through on these extremely neutral tasting crisp breads. The light, airy crunch of the crisp bread is pretty delightful in this situation. Now, I basically destroyed this one, so I guess it was pretty good. Now let's get a sip of our coffee with a bit of sweetener. Cheers. It's a lot easier to drink now. The bitterness is essentially gone, and that actually turned down a little bit of that burnt flavor as well. It is drinkable, but still not really a good cup of coffee. And it tastes essentially like dollar store instant coffee. So now let's check out this canned meat. It is translating as pork shank, which is of course the lower part of a leg. It suggests having it as the last meal of the day, but as I said before, I figure we start the day with it. I like these little lids they include on the can so you can reseal your can if you don't eat everything inside of it. Nice little ring pull. That was very easy. And there is our canned pork shank, a little bit stuck to the lid, sort of a gelatinous-y oil on the top of it there. This has a distinct canned meat aroma because, of course, that is what it is. It looks to be a mixture of textures here. Some of it is very soft and processed, while other bits have a little bit more muscle fiber in it. We can really tell with this piece here that there is some serious separation between the fat and the lean bits. And this does look to have a lot of fat in it. I know there's a lot of people out there that would look at this and be pretty disgusted by it, but typically I'm a fan of canned meats, so let's give it a try here. Very soft. Salty, but not as salty as something like Spam. When you run into the fatty bit, it just melts away. And even these more stringy lean bits are super, super tender and soft. Other than pork fat and salt, there's no real other discernible flavors with this. Just as is, this is pretty tasty though. I think it's perfect for going on some of our crisp bread here. Cut a nice piece there. Look how soft this is. It is spreading very easily. That might look a little weird to some of you, but for me, that's breakfast. The meaty saltiness complements the crisp bread. The crisp bread, of course, brings a lot of extra texture. Instead of just mush, you get a little bit of snap. This is very plain and basic food. Very easy to eat. That went down so quick, I'm already having to make another one here. This is not gonna blow anybody's socks off. It's not a gourmet delicacy. When you think canned mystery meat, this is pretty much the poster child. Really a throwback to what soldiers had to eat in the First and Second World War, but it still gets the job done even today. Now I think it's time for a taste of our forest fruit green tea beverage. That looks really nice and well dissolved. Cool and refreshing, quite naturally flavored, but has a little bit of a floral aftertaste. It is pretty darn sweet, has just a little bit of sourness. I can't taste the tea at all. It's all fruit flavor as far as I'm concerned, but I would happily drink another one of these any day. Very satisfying. Last breakfast item to try out here is our cereal and fruit bar. This one is pear flavored, so this might look a little odd, but the white exterior is actually rice paper, which prevents your hands from getting sticky from that fruity paste on the inside there. It's pretty soft, a little bit gooey. We can see bits of dried fruit and sort of a granola-like cereal. Looks like some puffed rice and possibly some oaty bits. Let's give it a taste. You can't even tell you're biting through the rice paper. That has a really good tartness, nice punch of sweetness. It's very easy to chew and packs a wallop of dried pear flavor. Delicious. This is awesome. Of everything we have with breakfast, this bar is the champion for sure. They could have included 3 or 4 of these and I would have ate every single one of them. Unfortunately, this will be my final bite. Because this is so good, it has to be shared with my wife. I'm gonna happily polish off my crisp bread, meat and jam, and then we'll move it on over to lunch. The midday meal suggestion was chicken fillets and cheese sauce. I think this is the perfect meal to test out our little included ration stove. We basically just fold the sides up, and that gives us some little stabilizing feet. And then the other sides fold up to create our finished stove. Let's get one of our fuel tablets here. Oh man, this smells disgusting. It smells like old rotten fish. That's pretty normal of hexamine though. It was already split. Place that in our stove. Before we try to light that, let's open up our chicken here. And we have another ring pull. A little bit of juice splooged out. A lot of juice is splooging out actually. Now that is interesting looking. I was thinking it would be more of an orange cheese color, but that's looking more like a cream sauce than a cheese sauce to me. Those chicken fillets are surprisingly large though. Just now I sprayed myself with creamy chicken juice. Orange. Let's put this napkin to use and wipe some out off. God, I smell awful now. All right, now let's get our matches. I will try these plain, non-windproof, non-waterproof matches first. Not exactly the easiest to strike. The match heads are just coming off instead of lighting. Try another one here. These are trash matches. How is this match striker combination so bad? This one just completely broke. All right, we'll try one of our windproof waterproofs here to see if they strike any better. Yep, that one did it. I ended up with a little pile of wood, and it looks like the hexamine is already lit, so that's good. Sit that right on top of the stove and allow that to heat. Well, our tray has hexamine dust and match heads all in it, so I think we're gonna have to clean that up with one of our included wet wipes here. Be Fresh brand, and it does still feel damp, but not exactly wet. Pretty thin and flimsy, sort of a citrusy, soapy smell. And I guess that's good enough to clean up some match dust. It's only been a minute or two, and this main is already bubbling. Our drink for lunch will be a lemon-flavored green tea. And stir to dissolve. So far, there's just enough room in this can to where it hasn't boiled over quite yet. Meal B suggested eating the freeze-dried fruit. Let's rip into this one. Nice Mylar package on this. Good looking freeze-dried fruit medley. Very light and styrofoamy. Tons of dust in there. It's a little bit beaten up. It looks like that has pineapple, banana, strawberry, cherry, and I think these little ones are apple. Our SBIT fuel tab just went out. That burned up very quickly, but maybe that was enough to heat the main. I really do appreciate that can handle. Looks like the temperature on that is between about 120 and 144. I think we need to try out our freeze-dried fruit here first. Before it absorbs too much moisture from the air, we'll give this banana piece a shot. Very crisp, light and styrofoamy, really sweet, and a little bit tart, which is odd for a banana. It has a very ripe banana taste. Quite pungent, almost like a baby food banana. Now let's check out one of our cherries here, mostly whole. Wow, that was almost hollow on the inside. I guess that makes sense as they had to remove the pits. That cherry was super, super sour. Crisp and sour, almost no sweetness on that. Now we'll get a taste of a piece of pineapple. Flavor on that is really powerful. Strong, ripe pineapple with a nice hit of sweetness. And then I'm pretty certain this is strawberry. So far, that's the most disappointing one. It does have that characteristic strawberry flavor, but the texture on that one wasn't very good. It wasn't very crisp, just really soft. And there's a whole bunch of little apple pieces in here. So we'll get a little handful of those and throw them all back at once. No mistaking that's apple. It doesn't have the awesome texture of some of the other fruit in here. But I guess it's a nice enough filler, since there does seem to be more apple in this than basically anything else. This can is still screaming hot, so I will use my handle here. Look how big these chicken breast pieces are. 2 massive pieces of chicken with a third nice little chunk there. Super creamy, what they're calling cheese sauce, and there is a ton of it. We are steaming hot here. So there does look to be a little orange carrot flake or two in there, a couple little flake of green herb here and there, but I don't really see much else in this pretty thick sauce. I guess the star of the show is the chicken here, shredding very easily there. Fork tender, I guess you would say. It is non-processed, very clearly a full, large piece of chicken breast. I'm going to shred this up a little bit so it picks up as much of the sauce as possible. Before we get that too mixed in though, let's cut a nice chunk here. That is one of the most substantial pieces of protein I've ever seen in any ration. The smell is mild but distinctly savory with a little bit of cheesiness. Let's try it out. Very tender, just a little bit dry, kind of overcooked, really salty. But like the smell, that is very savory, although lightly flavored. Scoop a bit of our sauce here. Try that cheese sauce straight by itself. The cheese is not very sharp. It is very creamy though. I definitely think I would describe this as more of a cream sauce than a typical cheese sauce, but it's really good all the same. It's thick and well salted, nice and warm, so it's very comforting. Now let's get some of our more shredded chicken bits here that have really had a chance to soak in that sauce, and I think that's going to be the winner. That chicken is 100% overcooked, but with the addition of ample sauce, the dryness is overshadowed by extreme tenderness. That cream sauce is screaming for some black pepper. There's a very large grind of pepper here, and not too terribly much in that pack. Get a bite here with as much pepper as I can get on it. Now that's what I'm talking about. Now that has a fresh ground black pepper flavor. Most black pepper in military rations is very underwhelming and doesn't really pack that punchy, fresh ground black pepper flavor and heat. This one does, and visibly we can tell that this is more of a coarse grind, which I definitely prefer. The black pepper really accentuates the flavor of the cream sauce, making this exponentially better. It's almost like it's a whole different dish. Let's get a sip here of our lemon tea. Green tea with lemon. Light and refreshing, lemony, citric acid flavor, but not so much that it's extremely overwhelming. Good level of sweetness, just a little bit of tartness. I still can't really taste the tea though, since we have so much sauce to go around. I'm glad it suggested these SU1 special crackers for this particular meal. These are dense, thick bricks of crackers, very much along the lines of an old school hardtack cracker. Bready aroma, and you can pick up on a little bit of the caraway seed that's included within this. You gotta apply a lot of pressure to crack one of these guys, and there's a caraway seed poking out front and center. Sometimes these are referred to as Panzer waffles or tank treads because they really are just that thick and dense. They can even be hard to bite into. Let's give this one a try. Not really snappy, but man, that caraway flavor is nice. Takes a lot of chewing. Dense is an understatement with this. I don't recommend trying to bite into these with your front teeth because you might just break them, but as long as you're careful and go at it from the side. These SU1 crackers are actually really good. And I think it'll be even better dipped in a bit of our cream sauce here. Just that slight little dipping helped to soften it up a little bit. It adds some much needed moisture. And the caraway flavor of the biscuit here actually brings a lot to the table in terms of taste. Get a bite here with some chicken. Man, that's good. Black pepper, caraway, cheese sauce, tender chicken, lots of salt. I'm a happy camper. Let's finish up lunch by checking out one of our sticky melted candies here. They have been making a huge mess all day, and to be honest, I'm pretty ready to see them go. They are completely melted, stuck to the plastic. I guess I'll have to eat it straight off. A little bit chewy still, but mostly just sticky. I honestly don't know what flavor that is. It doesn't taste like strawberry or raspberry. Maybe it's cherry, maybe it's black currant. It's not grape. Whatever flavor it is, it's pretty good, but of course, it would have been a lot better had it still been hard candy instead of gloop candy. I guess that's what you get when you're eating a ration that's 4 years out of date. With that down, we have one meal left. Finally dinner time, and we're gonna be checking out the entree I've been most excited with. Our leso with kielbasa. To me, this one sounds the most like traditional Polish fare. Ring pull, ooh, saucy. Lots of veg, separated fat on top. Very thick looking sauce with tons of vegetables. I'm gonna heat this one up with a hot water bath. Even before heating though, this is putting off an extreme smoky aroma. I have high hopes for this one. We do have another of our tea drinks to prepare. This one is raspberry. I have really enjoyed these drinks so far. They've been quite good and don't taste super artificial. Dried, this one has a strong raspberry smell. We still have one can here of meat product. This is the one that said it was beef and pork. And that looks to be another type of canned sausage or sort of like a pate. This one smells a little more dog food-like than the one that we had for breakfast. It does have some gelatin around the edges there, and that cuts very easily, even with this very small, flimsy spoon. Very similar lean and fat mix as to what we had for breakfast. And there's a couple little black specks in there. I'm guessing that's black pepper, but I don't really see much else. Let's see how it is. That tastes mostly of pork fat, but it certainly has more flavor than the meat that we had for breakfast. It does cut very easily. Bringing it out in quarters here. And that spoon is toast. I guess I should use the teaspoon for the tea. Maybe the fork will fare better here. There's our 4 quadrants of meat goop. And there's a lot of the gelatinized bits on the fork here. So let's give that a shot. Very fatty, but pretty good. This is a pretty dense meat product. Get another bite here. That tastes a lot like a pork luncheon meat. My lips are slick with fat. It's more chunky than it is spreadable, but I suppose it is meant to be consumed with our crisp breads here. 10 more of our styrofoam-like breads. This one's already broken, so I guess we'll get a taste of that one to make sure they're fresh. You know, these have a pretty nice snap, but they don't quite have the right amount of crunch. Now let's grab some of our meat and adorn our crisp bread with it. Look at the cross-section of that sausage. Little gelatinousy bits, lots of fat, and some little meaty bits as well down the hatch. That's a great combination. That slightly spiced, porky, and I guess beefy luncheon meat mixes really good with the light crisp bread. It tastes less like dog food than it looks. At least I guess so. I can't say I've gone around eating a lot of dog food. If there's any takeaway from this review, it's going to be that these Polish rations have a ridiculous amount of meat in them. This SRG has been protein and fat central, and even though it has a lot of these crisp breads, this ration is certainly not relying on carbohydrates as much as most from around the world. No doubt that has a lot to do with how cold it is in Poland. In those frigid European winters, you need that fat for energy. One final spread for our crisp breads, and in a nice little soft metal tin here. Easy to pull back and quite crystalline. The smell is intoxicating. What a beautiful wildflower honey. Get just a little taste by itself. Look how thick and gloopy that is. Oh, that is crazy good. It's honey, so of course it's super sweet. This has great depth of flavor though. Not at all like a cheap mass-produced honey. From flavor alone, you can tell this is super high quality, really premium stuff with a complex wildflower flavor. Dip some crisp bread in that delectable honey. That is like candy. Sweet and crisp. What a great combo. That honey is thirst-provoking though, so let's try out our raspberry tea here. You really smell this one just before you get in there and taste it. Again, light and refreshing, not ridiculously over-flavored like something from a US MRE. You can tell they're not using that many added colors or anything. Sure, it's got nice sweetness, and a pleasant tartness. This is easy drinking and really a delicious ration beverage. Our entree is heated and all that solidified fat has melted into a thick layer of grease on top. Well, let's get this on the tray here. That kielbasa looks good. Man, the smells coming from this are ridiculous. It is far and away the most fragrant thing that we've encountered today. And once again, they are not playing around with a portion of meat. Look at this load of sausage. So it looks like we have some green beans, little bits of zucchini, red bell pepper, of course our kielbasa rounds, and then a lot of this oily tomato-based sauce. I'm going right in for a bite of this sausage. Polish Armed Forces kielbasa. Peppery, smoky, fatty. Get another one here. It has a great bite to it. The casing has a little bit of snap. Even though these are cut into rounds, it's well salted and is distinctly spiced with black pepper. Now for our vegetable mix here, get a few of these green beans and zucchini sort of alone first. I am glad this ration had at least some vegetables in it. We'll see how they are. Those are soft, like super soft. They're cooked extremely thoroughly, so they just sort of mush and melt away in your mouth. Now for a bite of sausage and vegetable. Man, that's good. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of kielbasa, but this has to be the best kielbasa I've ever had in my life. There's so much of this vegetable sauce, I think we can also use our crisp bread to pick a little of that up and shovel that down. The warm sauce turns the crisp bread to mush really fast, but the rye flavor mixes with that rich vegetable sauce very well. This is really outstanding. One of the best things I've ever had come out of a can. Let's get into this ridiculously huge 60% dark chocolate bar. Even though this ration has some age on it, this chocolate looks to be in excellent shape. Check that snap. Light snap. Just from looks alone, we can tell that is quite dark. Smells outstanding. Let's give it a taste. Not the snappiest dark chocolate I've ever encountered, but the rich cocoa flavor of this is really nice. It's a little bit bitter, but that's offset by the extreme sweetness of this chocolate. There's a lot of sugar in it. That is a treat. It's gonna be hard to hold back from sitting here and eating this whole darn chocolate bar. Chocolate and coffee are always a good combo, so let's follow it up with a coffee candy. Sort of a rounded, rectangular shape. I thought they were supposed to be crunchy, but this thing is chewy. Very dense and chewy. Sort of along the lines of a chewy caramel, but the coffee flavor on this is better than any caramel I've ever had. That's awesome. While that's in my mouth, I'm gonna add some chocolate to it, and that is a flavor explosion. Wow, I'm stunned at how good that is. Aside from sticking to the teeth a little bit, those coffees are fantastic. We'll freshen up with a little bit of xylitol gum. Looks like 2 little briquettes per package here, hard shell on the outside, soft gum center, and an awesome spearmint flavor on this. That gum is sugar-free, and xylitol has been proven to help prevent tooth decay, so that's a nice inclusion to keep the troops in tip-top shape. And that, my friends, was the most excellent Polish SRG 5. This ration is not only huge, but also quite tasty and extremely meat-heavy, if you're into that kind of thing. To be honest, I think it's pretty perfect for the environment it was designed for, and Polish soldiers are eating pretty good. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future military ration review content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. But if you really want to help out, share the video with a friend, because that is the best way to help the channel grow. Let me know what you thought about the review down in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.